Hello, hello, hello! Welcome back to High on History, episode 2 of season 2.
I'm Liz.
And I'm Jordan. And today we're gonna shout out, we were supposed to shout out in the last episode too, but we're shouting out Green Health, who is our wonderful herb supplier.
Our local dispensary.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely people, supporters of the show. So, shout out to you. Thank you guys for always hooking us all the way up.
Yeah, you guys are great. And then we'd also like to introduce Todd. He is a manager of the company that we work for, and he is going to be our editor, censoring any foul language and inserting any corrections that we need.
Yeah. So thank you for welcome aboard, Todd. Thank you for all that. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have other shout-outs? I think that was it for this week, yeah?
I think that was what we needed to do this week.
Okay.
And then let's just jump right into the genetics of the Louis Bourbon line.
Yeah, let's jump right to it.
We're going to actually start all the way back in 1272 with Count Robert de Clermont and his marriage to Beatrice Burgundy, Lady of Bourbon. And they were actually unrelated. So,
all right.
Yep, I've got to make sure I announce who's related, how they're related, which ancestor they have in common. We're going to realize how close these little apples fell from their tree.
Yeah, which was not far at all.
No, these little apples were very closely knotted together. So, Count Robert de Clermont is the sixth and the youngest son of King Louis IX. And he was of the Capetian royal house. So as the Bourbons were doing their thing, serving under the Capetian house as a minor nobility for about 341 years. And that's when the Capetian dynasty ended and the house of Valois took over. And that was in 1328. So this whole time, for the last 341 years, they were just kind of nice little farmland. They'd rise up a military.
That's the Bourbons, right?
Yes, this is the Bourbons. So they just started out as a noble household. And now the death and what ended up switching Valois, from Capetian to Valois was the death of King Charles IV. And then King Henry III died in 1589. And that was the throne of Valois being passed on. So Henry III was the House of Valois. And he was assassinated by a friar named Jacques Clement, and he died childless. His brothers also died childless. So there was no Valois to take the throne as a direct line. And that's how the House of Bourbon finally got their shot at the throne. And that was with Henry Navarre, and he married his second cousin, Margaret de Valois, in 1572. They had no children. Their marriage was actually annulled in 1599, and
they hated each other.
Oh, they did. They actually despised each other.
Yeah, they were not a good match.
And she, Margaret de Valois, was actually the sister of Henry III. And that was the dude that I was literally just talking about a second ago. Now, Henry and Margaret have a common great-grandfather, and that was Charles, Count of... My French is horrible. I believe it's Angoulême.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Right yeah, I see it.
And their marriage was a political union between the Catholics and the Protestant. We kind of discussed that in the last episode with the 200 years that Liz covered in the first episode.
Yep.
Now, Henry Navarre took a second wife, Marie de Medici. I nailed it! And then, I've been stumbling...
It's usually pronounced de Medici. Though.
Well, I'm not Italian.
I
got it as good as I could.
So good.
And they actually had a proxy marriage on October 5th in 1600 and didn't actually meet each other in person until December 17th. They had 6 heirs, and now we did get to meet Catherine de' Medici in the last episode very briefly. Right. She and Marie are distant cousins. Apparently, Marie's uncle ended up marrying Catherine's granddaughter, and that's how they're related.
Okay.
Yeah. But now the 6 heirs of Henry Navarre, or King Henry IV, and Marie. They had 6 heirs: Louis XIII of France, Elizabeth the Queen of Spain, Christine Marie Duchess of Savoy, Nicholas Henry Duke of Orleans, and he died young. So then we ended up with Gaston, Duke of Orleans, and then we also have Henrietta Marie, and she ended up being the Queen of England, Scotland, and Ireland. Now, Henry IV was assassinated in 1610. And that was by a Catholic fanatic, Francois Ravaillac.
I believe it's Ravaillac.
Ravaillac, yeah. And that was on May 14th. And now, can I have my notes back, please?
Nope.
And then their son, Louis XIII, was only 9 years old when his dad died. So he ended up marrying Anne of Austria, daughter of King Philip III of Spain. Now, I'm going to pause here real quick and explain what the confusion was in the first episode of why is she Anne of Austria, Princess of Spain. That's because of Austria represents the household that her mother comes from. Her mother was an Austrian Habsburg. Her father, the King of Spain, was a Spanish Habsburg. So she was Princess of Spain because that's where her mother and father lived and she ruled, but she carries her mother's title. And that's why she's Anne of Austria.
Right.
From Spain.
Queen of France, ultimately.
Queen of France, but Princess of Spain.
But Princess of Spain. That's cool.
Yeah. Now, Louis XIII and Anne of Austria had a 23-year loveless marriage. They actually also despised each other, from what the story goes. He spent a lot of time with his male counterparts, and he fancied his male companions more than spending time with his queen. They ended up getting snowed in together during a really bad storm, probably during part of the little ice age that happened in Europe around that time. And that's when they ended up producing an heir and a spare. We get Louis XIV and Philippe I. Now, Anne and Louis XIII are double first cousins.
Right, they shared exactly the same great-grandparents, was that it?
So, hang on, cotton mouth. So, 13's dad and Anne's mom were the grandchildren of Ferdinand I, Holy Roman Emperor. Now, 13's mom and Anne's dad are the great-grandchildren of Ferdinand I.
Oh my goodness!
And that's how they're double first cousins. So we get 2 different types of double first cousins. We get this type of double first cousin, and then we'll see another Louis with another side of double first cousins.
Oh my goodness!
This gets good. And then the Treaty of Pyrenees rolls around in 1660, and that ends the war between France and Spain with the marriage of Louis XIV to Marie Theresa of Spain. Now, the 14th and Marie Theresa are also double first cousins. Both of their mothers were sisters, and both of their fathers were brothers. Oh, yeah. Oh, man, this is juicy.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Due to how closely related they were, they had 5 children who died as infant and toddlers, as well as countless miscarriages. Louis XIV reigned for a total of 76 years. This is actually, I think, still to this day.
Yeah, he's the longest reigning monarch in all of
world history. Yeah. So, to elaborate on that, Louis the 15th is his great-grandson. So Louis the 14th's son, I will call him the Grand Dauphin, was born in 1661, and he died in 1711 from smallpox. And then the Grand Dauphin's son, Louis, Duke of Burgundy, was born in 1682 and died of measles the following year in 1712. So neither one of them got to be king.
Right.
And they would have been Louis the 15th if they outsurvived 14, but they didn't. So we're going to backtrack to the Grand Dauphin, which is the son of Louis the 14th. He married his second cousin, Maria Anna Victoria of Bavaria, in 1680. Now, Maria Anna Victoria's mother was Louis the 13th's sister.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And they had 3 sons. Louis, the Duke of Burgundy, who I'll talk about in a second. Philippe, Duke of Anjou, who was also the future King of Spain. And then I actually could not find anything about Charles de France, Duke of Berry. Like, I actually kind of tried to look him up, because what's the role of Duke of Berry? So I couldn't actually find anything.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take a gander too. Maybe we can fill that gap in at some point.
So now we're going to move on to Louis, Duke of Burgundy. Again, guess what number cousin he marries?
Second or first?
Second.
Okay.
Second cousin. He marries his second cousin, Marie Adelaide of Savoy. Now, Marie's mother is the daughter of Philippe, Duke of Orleans, who is the younger brother of Louis the 14th.
Oh my gosh. Oh my heavens.
So, do we see how knotted this family tree is?
You know, you were right when you described it not so much as a tree, but like a vine.
It really much is like a family vine.
Yeah.
And just wait until we get to the Habsburgs. Like,
right.
They're even more twisted.
Right?
And this is the least of the inbred royal families.
Oh wow. Okay.
This is the healthiest line of any royal family.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Okay, continue.
Alright, so now they died, and this is actually kind of a tragedy. The whole family, Louis's older brother, their son Louis the 15th, his older brother died, his mother and father died 6 days apart, all of measles. They were being bled out, they were being, what was all the other treatment? I mean, like, whatever medical treatment there was so many, and I actually can't believe I didn't list all this out, but, I mean, I might talk about some of the medical treatment of this time.
I think it will be almost inevitable when we cover Louis the 14th to
not talk about the medical treatment.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, medieval medicine was
horrific.
Absolutely awful, and it's worth covering.
And so, Louis the 15th was only 2 years old when he lost his entire family to measles. And the only reason why he wasn't bled to death by the fucking doctors, oh, there's a censor word for you, Todd, was because his wet nurse, his nanny, his governess,
I read about that.
Hid him.
Yeah,
she stowed him away and kept him away from the doctors and kept him alive and healthy. So pretty much quarantined him from his whole family when they got sick, is what she did. And she kept him away from everybody and saved his life. And that's how we get the wonderful King Louis the 15th. And hey, guess what? We get some fresh blood in this bloodline finally again.
Woohoo! Yeah, it's about time.
Right? And King Louis the 15th married his wife, Marie Lechenskaya, And
she was Polish, right?
She is Polish, exactly. Her father actually was deposed, former king of Poland, Stanislaw the First. And they ended up having 10 healthy children together, actually. And like I said, this is where, like, there's some of the freshest blood in the royal courts. Like, they're the ones who, like, inbreed the least. They had 8 daughters. Their daughters are very well known in the French court. They are the madams of the French court.
Nice.
Most of them stayed unmarried. There was, I believe, 3 of the daughters who were wedded off. I believe 1 became a queen. And, I mean, if we really want the genetics, below, hit that comment and say, yes, you want to hear more about the genetics of Louis XV's sisters and who they married. And they pretty much had the reign of the court for their entire lives. And then the 15th had 2 sons. Again, another Louis and another Philippe.
Oh my.
Oh yeah, right? So we get Louis Dauphin of France. He gets married twice, but he ends up dying before he makes it to the throne. He dies of tuberculosis in 1765. His first wife, Infanta Maria Teresa Rafaela of Spain.
Nailed it.
Thank you. I've been practicing Spanish. And I'm not going to say who has been teaching me Spanish because we are not sponsored by them. So they were first cousins. Now, I feel like this relationship would have actually been a really nice relationship. From what I read, they were actually fairly close in their first year of marriage. But she died during childbirth, giving birth to their daughter. Mm-hmm. So that unfortunately their marriage only lasted a year. Like, yeah, that was sad. And then I couldn't find any information on what age their daughter died, but she didn't survive childhood either. Which, I mean,
very common in that time.
It was very common. So Louis Dauphin of France marries Maria Josepha of Saxony. I was just about to be like, yes, I know Josepha, and then added the F to Saxony. They're actually not related, but the irony here to their marriage, it was actually a not wanted marriage. There was some political adversity. Her father deposed Stanislaw the First of Poland.
Oh!
Yeah, so her husband...
The drama is real.
Right? So her husband's grandfather was deposed from the throne of Poland.
We should have done this episode with tea.
Right. I got my coffee, though, so... Close enough, I guess. Now... The Dauphin of France and Maria Josepha had 3 future kings of France. She had Louis XVI, Louis XVIII, and Charles X. And they were all kings before, during, and after the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. We are definitely going to be ending up talking about the 16th for sure. They also had 4 daughters. This was kind of a tragedy in my opinion. 2 of their daughters were born sometime around 1750, and both of those little girls died before 1755. And they were not sisters. They were sisters, but they were not twins by any means, but they had the same name. So I feel like they lost an infant.
Tried again and lost. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, and those 2 girls' names were Marie Seraphine.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought those were beautiful. That was a beautiful name, Seraphine. And then they had their daughter Marie Clothilde. I'm not quite sure how to say that name, but she became Queen of Scandinavia. And then they also had a daughter named Elizabeth.
Clotilda.
Clotilda?
Clotilda.
That's what I've been stuck on that name for weeks. And then their daughter Elizabeth was guillotined during the Revolution in 1794. The 15th and Josepha also suffered many stillbirths and many miscarriages. The exact number of children who did not live is actually unknown, and that's how many tries they had. So even though they were unrelated, pregnancy and conceiving was really hard back then.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take a shot in the dark on this one. They probably were different rhesus factors of blood. So a lot of miscarriages and stillbirths that would happen today, there is now actually a vaccine that a lot of pregnant women have to end up getting because their blood type doesn't match their babies because of the positive or negative factor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and they wouldn't have known anything
they would
about
not,
that.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of low birth rates, low survival comes from that unknown blood tracker. Like, it is literally just the Rh negative or positive factor on the blood.
That could definitely
Yeah.
do that.
And even, like, if the baby is O, a universal type, it can survive as long as it has the same positive factor.
But not if it has the negative.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those where it has to have the same factor in order to survive.
Right.
And I do believe that is a big cause of why so many children were miscarriages back then. Now, moving on off of a very sensitive subject, because, hey, that's a sad topic. We're moving on to, finally, Louis the 16th and our lovely Queen Marie Antoinette. They were second cousins once removed. A little more distant. But so his grandmother was sister to her grandfather. And they were married on May 16th, 1770. She was only 14, he was 15, and their marriage was to ally the Bourbon bloodline with the Austrian Habsburgs. Now, at this time, there was a 30-year war going on between the Austrian Habsburgs and their grasp for world power. And the Bourbons being like, oh shit, we in the middle because we got the Spanish Habsburgs to our south and we got the Austrians to our north. We stuck in the middle. So they decided to try to align with the Austrian bloodline, so they stopped the war. Which it actually did work for a little while.
Briefly.
Now, to kind of actually discuss the causes of inbreeding, because I didn't actually talk about the specific illnesses and ailments. The Bourbons didn't have the deformities the way you see with the Spanish Habsburgs. Now, the Austrian Habsburgs did have a little bit of a protruded jaw, and they were definitely known to be deformed, and having that, what is that actual jaw called? Maxilla mandible or something. I don't remember. I should have looked up the scientific word for it. But the Bourbons were known for their cherry red button nose. They had a really just round circular nose, and it didn't cause any breathing problems. A lot of their problems were mental retardation. They would be dawdling. They would prefer to be playing with chemistry sets or off playing with toys. There was one of the Louis that would actually have action figures that he would play around with while everyone else was discussing what to do with the kingdom.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, yes. So we're talking about kings with a mental capacity of probably a 5-year-old. And I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt because I didn't live in that time period, nor would I probably have even been associated with these kings.
Right.
So what happens with inbreeding is it increases the child inheriting identical genes from both the mother and the father. Now, the way we don't get these deformities is because our mother's gene usually compensates for the father's recessive factor. But with inbreeding, the mother's recessive factor becomes a dominant, the father's recessive factor becomes a dominant trait.
Because it's shared with the mother.
Because they keep crossing in with each other.
Right.
So it becomes a dominant trait. It works with animal breeding for the same thing. We want to keep a factor, we want to keep a specific coat pattern, we'll breed that animal over and over again until we get that coat to stick. Once that trait sticks, though, that's when it becomes a problem in humanity.
Right.
Like it.
Well, it does in dogs too. Like, this is why pugs can't breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Excessive overbreeding is not good for the gene pool. Now, it increases the risk of genetic disorders, guaranteed to reduce fertility, which is why we have so many stillbirths, miscarriages. Like, I know I just mentioned the Rh factor. That was a scientific thing. That is a newer discovery. But at the same time, what happened in Appalachia? We all know that we can't be kissing our cousins and having healthy children. Like, it just doesn't work that way. It lowers the fertility rate drastically.
One of the things that I do find so vastly surprising about the royals versus everybody else. And the average farmer in the 1400s knew how to breed his sheep.
Yeah.
We knew that inbreeding caused problems in our lives, but apparently the royal family just couldn't fathom that this might also apply to them.
I actually speculate that they do know, but they didn't care because they were appointed by God himself. They were divine rulers of France.
Yeah.
And same with the Habsburgs. They were appointed by God, divine rulers of the Hungarian-Austrian Empire. Same with the the Spanish Habsburgs. The British royal family still to this day believe they are appointed by God to be royals.
Really?
Like, it's a legend. I don't know actually if Prince Henry or William actually believe they were appointed by God.
I would not think so.
Yeah, I would hope not. But they have power because they were appointed by God.
That is amazing. It's kind of amazing that anybody ever thought it. But, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So they have a higher infant mortality rate as well with the reduced fertility, which also makes sense that their babies would not survive. Do you think about that, how, like, the recessive gene becomes the dominant gene? That causes all sorts of just, the egg and the sperm don't want to mix.
Right.
And for those who did survive into, like, adolescence and adulthood, they had weakened immune systems that, like I said, they had severe mental retardation, depression.
Yeah, I knew a lot of them seemed to have severe shyness, depression, anxiety.
Some of them couldn't even walk properly.
Right.
There was a couple of the French kings that actually needed help walking. And this isn't just... Excuse me, pardon me. So this isn't just with the Habsburgs. We see it with the entire monarchy. Even though I said that the Bourbons are one of the less of the inbred, they still had very decreased biological fitness and mental capacity. Now, I already talked about the Bourbons. I talked about their nose. They suffered. I mentioned Charles of Spain and then Charles. Okay, sorry. I actually got a little ahead of myself on some of that tangent.
I did that too yesterday.
Yeah, which means we're actually pretty much, after this card, I am done with my segment. So we'll be switching over to you soon, Liz. Alright, so now, a little fun fact about Marie Antoinette. I'm not going into the Habsburg dynasty. I don't think I'm going to talk about the Habsburgs in this story. I might mention a little bit more about them when they're important, but I don't think we're going to actually go into their grapevine. But Marie Antoinette has an inbred coefficient of 30.5%. They actually have a number on her. That is equivalent to a child being born from a brother and sister.
Oh my goodness, that is a lot.
Oh, yeah. Now, her parents were actually second cousins. Her father was Francis I, Holy Roman Emperor. How many times were her husband's grandchildren?
Right, right.
Not her husband's grandchildren, but her husband's grandfather's related to that man. And Maria Theresa, Archduchess of Austria, and the Empress of Holy Roman Empire. And like I said, they were second cousins, and they shared great-grandparents, which means all four of their great-grandparents was one set of people.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Yeah. Welcome to the genetics of the Bourbons. And next week, I was thinking about either tapping in to the actual genetics of like the malformities and the exact descriptions that we have of the king. I'm not going to call them diagnosis. We might talk about what we would call the potential diagnosis if they were alive today. But mind you, if I do go into the specifics of what each king suffered from, I am not a therapist. I am by no means licensed to diagnose.
Nobody can diagnose somebody from the 1400s at this point either.
Yeah, and that's
the best we can do is say, well, the experts based on these symptoms kind of agree that it was probably X.
Yep.
And even they tend to hedge.
Yeah, so, I mean, we'll probably get into a little bit of what each of the Bourbon kings had, starting with Louis the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And then also, I will probably get into the mistresses and the illegitimate children of the Louis as well. Probably not in the same episode, but in my coming up segments.
Right on.
Yeah. And now, Liz, you had some really cool stuff that we were going to talk about. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, definitely something we noticed going down this rabbit hole is that, all of the events that we're taught in school as if they were kind of separate, many of them are not. They're very much built on each other. So I was kind of thinking, what was the actual moment that started the French Revolution?
Oh yeah.
And I knew I needed to look. We can pick almost any arbitrary moment and go, oh hey, it started here. But I picked a very specific one. Because without this particular invention, none of that would have ever happened.
And I agree.
And that invention was in 1440 in the German city of Mainz. Johannes Gutenberg introduced the revolutionary technology, the movable type printing press.
So for those of us who don't know what the movable type printing press or can't picture it, kind of like, do you know how one of those kind of works?
No, I have no idea.
No idea. Okay.
No idea. No.
Okay.
There's plenty about them though. The reason I picked this particular moment is because the printing press had no less of an effect on the people of the 14, 15, and 1600s than the internet has had on our culture and society today.
Right.
It created the ability, all of a sudden, for anything to be printed and passed around cheaply,
right,
and with very wide distribution.
Yeah. It also made like language easier to. It made translations. It made communication so much easier in general back then, too. People were being able to become more literate because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But The big blockbuster was supposed to be in 1455 when Gutenberg prints off several Bibles. And then the printers realize right away that the Bibles aren't selling. So they start creating pamphlets. Pamphlets. Yeah, absolutely. And in a way, we can think of them as the memes of their day. So they had drawings on them. They often had phrases on them, like, you know, what was that thing that the French used to say? Something fraternity,
Oh.
Egalite, liberté, égalité, fraternité.
Something like
Something like that. And so you could put a picture and sort of a little, a mock-up of whatever it was you were doing. And this hit the scene just exactly. I mean, just exactly like memes.
Mm-hmm.
So, anti-Catholic sentiment starts going around in these pamphlets, and the Pope is shown like a goat-headed devil, and then pro-Catholic stuff goes around showing the Huguenots in a terrible light, and on and on and on it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And in a very significant way, it kind of immediately, I mean, not immediately, because the 30 Years' War didn't start in 1455, but it has a really direct effect on the polarization of people who had been basically fine living together, but now all these pamphlets are going around, and it's really all this libel going around. And then in 1517, Martin Luther drafts his 95 Theses, which was a set of arguments against the sale of indulgences. We could get into indulgences and what the sale of indulgences was, but basically it was seen as a giant scam by the church to sell salvation.
Right.
And Luther was among many, many critics.
Yeah.
So he writes this 95 Theses, and he sends it to, I think an archbishop. Hold on.
I believe it's an archbishop.
Yep, Archbishop Albrecht of Mainz, and also to somebody else as a letter. And you need to understand, like, he did not nail it onto a church door. He also wasn't trying to start a revolution. This was an academic discussion that was supposed to stay in academic circles.
Right.
But the press got a hold of it.
Uh-huh.
And it got printed and widely distributed. And it caught Europe on fire. It's basically the equivalent in, let's see,
I mean, it
1517.
started Lutheranism.
Yeah.
That's how much it caught fire. It started a new religion.
It started a new religion. This is a viral meme. This is one of the first truly viral moments in human history.
Absolutely.
So, like I said, it started the wars of religion. Well, it didn't start them, but it exasperated them. It created the
led
seeds.
up to them. It allowed for communication to spread for them.
And it also allowed for people to speak to each other in codes and dog whistles and all that stuff that we still see today. By the late 1700s, pamphlets were absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you could slip them under a door, you could tack them to a post, they were just...
Pamphlets were everywhere.
Everywhere.
Just like the memes of our internet today. You can't go on a social media site without finding a meme.
Right. And the memes in France by the 1700s were probably the biggest cause of why Marie Antoinette was despised. And when we get later in the story, we're going to give you a lot of reasons why the French people despised Marie Antoinette and how much of that is deserved and how much of that was overblown. Needless to say, some of it was deserved. And a lot of it was really vastly overblown and exasperated by these pamphlets. They called her Madame Deficit. They accused her of adultery, incest, lesbianism, gluttony, and treason. They implicated her in something called the Diamond Necklace Affair. We will talk about that separately.
Right.
But basically, she is framed, and she looks like the bad guy in something she had absolutely nothing to do with.
Yeah.
And as one historian has put it, the pamphlets killed her long before the guillotine did.
Yeah, they really did.
And they
ruined her career as a queen.
They ruined her life.
Yeah.
Not unlike the way we ruin lives today with the internet.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. And this brings us to a subject that I did not expect to dovetail with this week's events. So I was going to do the Gutenberg Press before yesterday's events happened. By the time you guys watch this, it'll be Sunday, but we're sitting here at Thursday, September 10th. And,
September 11th.
No, I'm sorry, you're right, absolutely right. Thursday, September 11th, and I'm going to talk about Marat and his newspaper, Friend of the People. So, in September 1789, a writer, well, actually he was a medical doctor by trade, but he figured out right away that the pen was indeed mightier than the sword. And he was named Jean-Paul Marat. And he launched a newspaper called L'Ami des People, or The Friend of the People. Daily, this guy called for traitors of the revolution to be put to death. Daily. Every day, more names, more people, more calls for heads to roll, and heads did roll. Names got printed in his paper. Into the guillotine they went.
Yeah.
He is probably more responsible for more people finding the national razor than maybe any other single person, except perhaps Robespierre.
Yeah. But yeah.
But he does just an amazing amount of damage with his newspaper that encourages neighbors to snitch on their neighbors. There's rewards going around for turning in
fascism because of his newspaper.
I mean, they don't call it that. They definitely don't call it that.
Yeah, but
the revolution has lots of elements of proto-fascism in it, and the way he used propaganda was very much on that level.
Scale, yeah.
His words helped justify the September massacre of 1792. That's when mobs broke into a prison in Paris and murdered everyone in the prison.
Oh, wow. Wait, I thought they were supposed to... Wait, that was the storming of Bastille. Never mind. We'll talk about that later on, too.
Yep, we sure will. Now, he launched that paper in 1789. He doesn't get a whole lot of years out of it, because he gets about 4 years out of it, because on July 13, 1793, he receives a visitor, a woman by the name of Charlotte Corday. Now, Charlotte Corday gets... okay, so weirdly, Marat was known for having a open door policy. He was constantly looking for people to snitch. And so, he had access for them to do that. Yeah. So this woman gets an audience with him by saying she's got a list of people that have been traitors.
Yeah.
And, I suppose I should have mentioned earlier, but Marat had a nasty skin disease. I didn't get into the details of this, but he had to live his life in a bathtub, like soaking kind of all the time. And he wrote all of his hatred in these newspapers, basically from his bathtub. My guess would be that he was in a lot of pain, and that pain probably fueled his hate. But, so she gets an audience with him, and he leans in to get this list of names from her, and she
stabs him.
She stabs him. The blade pierced his lung and severed his aorta, and he died within moments.
Oh, wow. She got him good.
She did. She was also seized, pretty much.
Of course.
On the spot.
I'm sure he had guards and stuff.
4 days later, July 17th, 1793, she was also put to the guillotine.
Oh, wow. I did not wait for her.
No, they didn't. And she went to the guillotine absolutely, okay.
Unremorseful.
Unremorseful. There is I realized a couple of weeks ago while we were still studying before we'd gotten started again.
Yeah.
You know, there are no heroes in this story.
None.
There are no heroes in the French Revolution. There are only shades of villainy. And Corday is one of the most interesting shades of that villainy because she goes to the guillotine convinced, and she actually says this, like among her final words are, now France can have peace.
Yeah.
She's convinced that killing Marat will stop this onslaught of vitriol in the newspapers, and people will stop finding their way to the National Register. And she could not have been more wrong. Let's be clear. So first, she's a murderer. And yes, she murdered somebody who murdered people. The fact that she did it with a knife and he did it with a pen doesn't make him not a murderer, but it doesn't make her a hero.
Right.
And then right after this, Marat is instantaneously canonized. Streets and buildings are named after him. He becomes Saint Marat. He becomes a painting. He becomes a martyr. He's up there with Jesus in the eyes of the French people. In fact, as that anti-religious fervor starts hitting the revolution, we're going to talk a lot about that. Marat becomes the new Jesus in their iconography.
I mean, really, he does.
He really does. And the newspapers don't stop. The terror doesn't stop. In fact, if anything, it goes exactly in the other direction.
It increases.
It increases significantly. So I did want to end our segment. I'm actually also done. I did want to just end our segment with something to say because, like, I was studying Marat in the middle of yesterday's events, and for those of you who may not know, there'd be no way to miss it, but if you're watching this video at some part in the future and you have no idea what we're talking about, conservative commentator and debate influencer, political influencer, Charlie Kirk was assassinated yesterday while on a college campus debating another student. And I kind of feel like there's a reflection there.
A similarity.
Yeah, we have no idea at the moment who the killer is or what their motives were, but you can't help but notice that it's possible somebody thought that they'd be a hero and that you know,
And
they were so. And history shows us that is not what happens
they're
here.
They're already trying to turn Charlie into a martyr for the conservative movement.
Some people are already trying to essentially canonize him in the minds of the people. So I do just want to say this last little bit, and then we will be done for the evening. I'm sorry it couldn't be on a happier note. It's been a weird week.
It's been a weird week, yeah.
If the events of yesterday should teach us anything, it's that history does, in fact, loop again and again. There are relevant parallels in the murders of Marat and yesterday's shocking assassination of Charlie Kirk. Both were men who used their platform for destruction and harmful propaganda. Marat was certainly murdered for his words, and the likelihood that Kirk was also is pretty high. But Marat's propaganda machine did not die with him. The terror not only did not die, it reached a new and even bloodier pitch. We learn about the past so that we can do better in the future. So, peace be with you all, my friends.
And until next time, bye!
Live long and prosper.
And don't forget, hit that like, subscribe, share us with your friends.
Yes, please do, please do. Oh, and to all our supporters who've been with us on this wacky journey from the beginning, we see you, we love you, thank you.